Good morning. My name is Maggie Wilson, and I'm the worship associate today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whether you've been with this church a decade or more, or if this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whatever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. If you'd like more information about our church or Unitarian Universalism, please talk to our minister, Reverend Thickstun. You can find her contact information on our website. Be sure to join us for coffee hour following the service. The Zoom link will be posted in the YouTube chat at the end of the service. We will be breaking into small groups for better conversation. This week, you can connect with each other by Zoom for an informal chat on Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday night Vespers. You can join the Jesus discussion group today at noon and the Humanist group next Sunday at noon. Please see your e-news for how to find these and other ways to participate in our beloved community. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. It's good to be together, even virtually.
Welcome, everybody. We gather together in this virtual format to face ourselves honestly, to forgive ourselves gently, to love one another fervently. In the midst of a hurting world, we need each other more than ever. We need more than ever to be reminded that we are not alone, that there is goodness, that life is still worth living and justice still worth seeking. Come, let us join together in the celebration of life.
We light this chalice during this time of reflection and atonement, looking back at our actions and thoughts this past year so we can be at one with each other in times of broken promises and when we can mend relationships. Please join in singing our first hymn, number 86, in your gray hymnal. The words will appear on the screen.
Hey, kids, I hope you're there. I hope you're with us. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy this story. It's called What If Nobody Forgave? The Story of Grudgeville by Barbara Marshman. And it's from a collection of stories edited by Colleen McDonald called What If Nobody Forgave? And Other Stories of Principle. So, starts like all good stories start. In a land far away, a wise old man who knew a great deal about people because he traveled from place to place came to a strange village. In this town, all the people were carrying what seemed to be great bundles on their backs. They couldn't look around very well, and they never looked up because of these heavy burdens they carried. Imagine them all stooped over. Puzzled, the wise old man finally stopped a young fellow to ask, "My good man, I am a stranger to your land, and I am fascinated by these large bundles you all carry about, but never seem to put down. What is their purpose?" "Oh, these," answered the young fellow in a matter-of-fact way. "These are our grudges." "My," said the wise old man, "that's a lot of grudges to collect at your age." "Oh, they're not all mine. Most of them were passed down in my family." The young fellow heaved a weary sigh. "See that man over there? I have quite a load of grudges against his family. His great-great-grandfather called mine a horse thief when they both wanted to be elected mayor." The wise man looked around and shook his head sadly. You all look so unhappy. Is there no way to get rid of these burdens? We've forgotten how, said the young fellow, shifting his load a little. You see, at first we were proud of our grudges. Tourists came from miles around. But after a few years, Grudgeville became a dreary place. Nobody came, and we had forgotten how to stop it all. If you really want to get rid of those grudges, said the wise old man, I think I know 5 magic words that will do the trick. You do? Said the young fellow hopefully. That would be a miracle. I'll go and have the mayor call all the people of Grudgeville together. And off he went as fast as his grudges would allow him. The mayor lost no time in calling the people to gather in the village square. She and the wise old man stood on a platform where they could see all the villagers. Many of the townspeople were so bent over with their burdens that they couldn't look up at all. Ugh. Well, when they had quieted down, the mayor said, Good people of Grudgeville, a wonderful thing has happened. A very wise stranger has come into our town. He says he can tell us the magic words to help us get rid of these grudges we have carried for generations. How many of you would like to straighten up? Have your grudges disappear? Look at the world in a whole new way. Listen to the wise words of our visitor then, and do as he tells you. My friends, these are simple words, yet some people find them hard to say, said the wise stranger. I think you have the courage to speak them. The trick is that you must say them to each other and truly mean them. The first 2 are, I'm sorry. Can you say them? Now, say them to each other. The other 3 are, I forgive you. Can you say that? Now, say them to each other. There was a long, silent pause, then a low grumble from the townspeople. First one person and then another said the words. Soon they were all saying them to each other, quietly at first, then louder. And then, would you believe it? Just like the wise man predicted, those grudges disappeared like magic. What joy there was in the town. People were heard saying, Look at how those trees have grown. And is that you, Jim? How good to see your face. There was dancing in the street that day, and it wasn't long before they changed the name of the town to Joyville. So I can't wait to see you in person, kids. We'll get there. But meanwhile, I hope you keep tuning into this. Parents, make sure they do.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Richards from the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create this sacred space for sharing within our community. It is a time to share significant life passages with the congregation so that you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning. We will also be placing a stone which represents each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation, supporting our sorrows and lifting up the joys. Today we carry many sorrows. First, for Mary Ellen Johnson. My good buddy, Sally the cat, died on September 12th. I'm grateful for the 17 and a half years we had together. She gave me and Ed companionship and joy every day we were together. I miss her. To Mary Ellen, we say, we're holding you in our hearts. Two sorrows come from Tom May. I had surgery to improve the motion and reduce pain in my right wrist. I expected a simple procedure, but it turned into a 3-hour operation fusing and inserting titanium screws. I will be wearing a cast for the next 4 to 6 weeks. 2 days later, my youngest brother, Chester, was removed from life support and passed away in Cleveland Metro Hospital. Carla provided loving and wonderful support for Chester's kids and to the rest of our family during this sad time. I am grateful for her, and we are grateful for our UUCNH community. To Tom, Carla, and their family, we say, we're holding you in our hearts. And last, on Friday, Ruth Bader Ginsburg left this world. She was a trailblazer for women, a champion of civil rights, and notorious as a voice of reason and wisdom. Her loss to our nation is immeasurable. We now place one more stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts, but which remain unspoken today. We continue to think of everyone affected by this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Please read with me the words appearing on the screen, knowing that here includes all those watching. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be with us today. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
I invite you now to join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer. So please settle in a little more comfortably and close your eyes if you wish. And allow yourself to just relax, making your space sacred. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out slowly. Breathing in compassion and breathing out peace. Six months now, our world has been shut down, and the stress of this situation compounds all the other stressors in our lives and in our world. May we be gentle with ourselves and with each other more than ever right now. And in the spirit of this service, I offer the words of my colleague, Reverend Gilbert. In the warm embrace of this community, we come to reckon who we are and how we are doing in living of our lives. In this time of introspection and reflection, we come to acknowledge our faults and celebrate our virtues together. If we are honest with ourselves, we know how hard it is to be human, how very difficult to be all we wish to be. Constantly, we do that which we ought not to have done, and we do not do that which we ought to have done. So here we admit the impossible possibility of living the good life. Here we determine, despite all the odds, to try. May what we are speak more loudly than what we say. May our very being craft a silent sermon that needs no words. May we maintain and cherish our integrity in the struggle to be good and to do rightly. Let our inner and outer person be as one, that our doing flows as a fountain from our being. Let us have faith that if the soul is pure, the hands will do rightly. Let us risk being for others and forgive ourselves when we cannot. Let neither reward nor punishment, neither mythical fear of hell nor lure of heaven distract us from our earthly tasks. Let us, knowing how hard it is to be human, nevertheless resolve here and now to try. Let us pause for a few moments of silent reflection.
The following is a story. It's a classic story taken from the web. It most likely came from a book by Jonasson Rosenblum called Reb Yaakov. On Rosh Hashanah, Reb Yaakov sat in the synagogue. As he listened to the cantor chant, he closed his eyes and began to daydream. The Holy One sat upon the throne of judgment, surrounded by angels. Reb Yaakov saw himself in the dream. He stood before the heavenly court. The angels opened the book of life to the page that had Reb Yaakov's name inscribed on it. It was filled with all he had done during the past year. Not even the smallest deed had been overlooked. All of Reb Yaakov's good deeds were written in black ink on the credit side of the page. All of his bad deeds were written in red ink on the debit side of the page. Reb Yaakov's many good deeds were balanced against his bad deeds. In his imagination, Reb Yaakov watched as the trial took place. All of Reb Yaakov's mitzvot turned into angels. They rose to speak in his defense. Then Satan, the prosecuting angel, stood up and listed all of Reb Yaakov's sins. Reb Yaakov waited for the verdict. He wondered whether he would be inscribed for a year of blessing. He waited and waited. Suddenly, the defending angel stood before him. Reb Yaakov, he said, the Holy One has not yet rendered a verdict. But I don't understand. Why must I wait? Today is the day of judgment. On this day, 3 books are opened. One is filled with the names of the completely righteous. Another is filled with the names of the completely wicked. Is my name written in either of those books? Asked Reb Yaakov. No. That is why you must wait, the angel responded. For both the completely righteous and the completely wicked, the Holy One renders and seals the verdict at once. But your name, Reb Yaakov, has been written in the third book, the book that lists those who are not entirely good nor entirely bad. What shall become of me, Reb Yaakov wondered. Your verdict has been suspended until Yom Kippur. During the days of awe, if you repent, pray, and perform acts of tzedakah, then you will be inscribed in the book of life. Suddenly, Reb Yaakov woke from his daydream. He listened to the cantor chant. As he opened the pages of his prayer book, he promised to return to God in the days ahead.
There's a Spanish story of a father and son who had become estranged. The son ran away, and the father set off to find him. He searched for months to no avail. Finally, in a last desperate effort to find him, the father put an ad in a Madrid newspaper. The ad read, "Dear Paco, meet me in front of this newspaper office at noon on Sunday. All is forgiven. I love you. Your father." On Saturday, 800 Pacos showed up, looking for forgiveness and love from their fathers. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't talk a lot about forgiveness, atonement, or amends. Yet, it's an important religious and spiritual practice found in most, if not all, of the world religions. So I like to honor the spirit of the Jewish tradition, where this is the focus of its most important holidays. And we are right now in the days of awe, also known as the Jewish High Holy Days, the 10-day period between and including Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. These 10 days are an annual period for reflection and for mending relationships and behavior, a time to do a moral self-assessment, to apologize to others for harms we've done, making amends as appropriate, and resolving to do better in the future. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, is seen as a milestone of spiritual development. It is when people look back over the previous year to assess how they fared spiritually and seek to make corrections for the future. Rosh Hashanah is the day when God opens the book of life and judges every human soul based on their actions of the previous year. The judgment is inscribed in the book of life, but it is not sealed until Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. In these 10 days in between, according to Jewish teaching, we are given an opportunity to set right the wrongs of the previous year, to take responsibility for our actions, to seek forgiveness, to make amends. If we do this with true regret for past mistakes and a commitment to improve in the future, then our wrongs are erased and our names are inscribed in the book of life again. And we can experience forgiveness and a new beginning in harmony with the world. In this spirit, let's take this time to reflect on how we've measured up to our own highest standards in the past year and how we can make it up to those we've hurt and how we can do better going forward. So take a moment now to reflect on your own conduct in the past year. Imagine that, like Reb Yaakov, you're able to see your pages in the book of life. How much red ink is there? How much black? Now, in Reb Yaakov's dream, he is told that there are 3 books opened on the Day of Judgment, or Rosh Hashanah. One is filled with the names of the completely good, and another has the names of those who are completely evil. But no human being is completely good or evil. We are all a complicated mess, all doing our best to be good, and all falling short, no matter whether we admit it or not. We are all born innocent, but it doesn't last for too long. Nobody escapes childhood unscathed. Perhaps you were picked on by a big sibling. Perhaps you felt overlooked or invisible. Perhaps you were sexually abused by someone you trusted. The emotional wounds we experience, whether big or small, cause us to erect defenses in our personalities to protect us from further pain. Of course, the irony is that these defenses end up themselves causing more pain to ourselves and others. It can be hard to look at ourselves honestly enough to find our flaws or acknowledge our mistakes. It's hard to admit we could be hurting someone, especially when we know our intentions are good. Some time ago, I saw a comic with a really big, sweet dog called Howard Huge. Remember that? That hasn't been around in a while, but in this comic, he's sitting there, this huge dog with an angelic look on his face by a sign in his front yard that says, "Beware of well-intentioned dog." Sometimes it's hard to look honestly at ourselves because all we can see are the flaws. And we're so ashamed we can't admit to our mistakes. If we see ourselves as basically flawed, then we can't see that we are really good people who make mistakes or sometimes choose badly. If we see ourselves as basically flawed, then any admission that we've done wrong threatens to reveal what we see as our flawed nature. It makes us vulnerable in a way that only people with strong self-esteem are able to allow. But if we have a healthy and strong self-esteem, if we believe we are basically good people who sometimes hurt other people without meaning to, then it is much easier to say we're sorry. And when we can do that, we are able to build trust with others, able to function better in our relationships, able to love more fully. These holidays are really just about making a new beginning in a new year with a clean slate. We clean our slate by making apologies where needed. Here's an example. In the washroom of his London club, a British newspaper publisher happened to meet a young member of Parliament about whom the publisher had printed an insulting editorial a few days earlier. "My dear chap," said the publisher, embarrassed by the encounter, "I've been thinking it over and I was wrong. Here and now I wish to apologize." "Very well," grunted the member of Parliament. "But the next time I wish you'd insult me in the washroom and apologize in your newspaper." And I wish I could do a British accent as well as Bruce, but oh well. And here's a somewhat more serious example. I experienced a minor hurt with a friend. When I told her how I felt and why, she told me she didn't mean to hurt me and brushed it off with that. I knew she hadn't meant to hurt. That wasn't the point. I needed her to understand how she had hurt me so it wouldn't happen again. After talking about it some more, we let it go. A little later, she said to me that she'd been thinking about it and she understood now. She said she had been looking at it from the perspective of her intentions, but Then she looked at it from the perspective of my experience. She saw how it would feel. Her ability to do that builds intimacy because it builds trust. In preparing this sermon, I engaged in the process I'm inviting you to do. I reflected on the past year, tried to identify occasions where I may have hurt others, and looked at my behavior to see what could use improvement. One thing I am doing is trying to change my driving behavior. I've always driven fast, just like my mother did, but lately I've become aware of being a bit more aggressive driver than I want to be. I'm finding it hard to change. Habits are so entrenched. It's more than just a habit, though. I'm examining why I drive the way I do and finding a high level of impatience that also makes it hard for me to wait in lines. When I explore further, it seems that the impatience comes from a feeling of being trapped, which feels just intolerable at times. Coming to an awareness of what drives my behavior is helpful, and I have hope that I can mend my wicked ways. It takes time. Maybe it would help if I ask for forgiveness. Whether I ask it of whatever it is I might call God, or whether I ask it of the other drivers on the road, the act of asking forgiveness, just putting it out to the universe, if you will surely do something to change me. It is humbling, and it expresses a sincere desire to change. This is what the days of awe ask of us. They ask us to reflect on the last year, to determine what we might need to apologize for, what we might need to be forgiven for, what we might need to atone for. This reflection is hard work, and it requires us to look at ourselves with a fierce honesty that won't let us off the hook. Even harder is atonement, or making amends. If we find we have hurt someone, sometimes we must do something to make up for it, to replace a loss or restore a trust. Where have you acted in a less than loving manner? Has anyone tried to tell you they've been hurt by you? If so, have you brushed it aside? Unable to believe you could have caused hurt because you certainly never meant to, and you're not that kind of person. I find this is relevant in our conversations about racism. I know myself and people I associate with, we are not racist in our own minds. We never intend to cause harm. We think of people of color as no different than we are in having inherent worth and dignity, just as all people do. And yet, our actions may still belie an underlying perspective that we're not even conscious of, maybe, we're not even aware of, that affects how we behave in the world, that does have real consequences in the lives of these people that we care about. So the anti-racism work has a lot in common with this work, looking at ourselves and trying to see how our behavior, in fact, affects people beyond what our intentions are. There are 800 men named Paco in Madrid alone, looking for forgiveness and love from their fathers. That's mind-boggling. Just think how many Johns or Marys in Pittsburgh might show up. Just think how it would feel from an estranged parent that all is forgiven. Just think how it would feel to say it to a child, to a parent, to a spouse or partner or friend. And imagine how it would feel to ask for it. What a wonderful world it would be if everyone could realize that they're bound to hurt others from time to time without meaning to, and could accept responsibility when they do. It helps when people let us know when they've been hurt, because sometimes we have no clue. But we have a hard time letting others know that they've hurt us. I know I do, because so often people don't take it well. Sometimes people get defensive. They turn it back on us or in some other way wish we hadn't brought it up. What we can do is to take care that we don't respond defensively ourselves. It can hurt to hear that we've hurt someone, but becoming defensive gets in the way of really hearing what the other is needing to communicate. The Jews recognized the importance of atoning for our sins, of making amends for our mistakes, not only by doing it, but by making it the focus of their most holy days of the year. It puts the focus on what we ourselves have done or not done, whereas so often we're more concerned with what others have done or not done. It's easy to see what's wrong with everybody else. What's hard to see is our own flaws. There's a famous quote from the Bible. How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is the log in your own eye? It's from Matthew. That's what makes it a spiritual or religious exercise. It calls on the power of faith, of love, of joy inside us. It calls on us to transcend our habitual ways of being, of thinking, to see new perspectives on our actions, and to commit to new ways of being for a new year. If we can follow the example of the Jewish people and dedicate 10 days a year to focusing on the things we've done that we need to apologize or atone for, we can go a long way toward making this world a better place. May your reflections be productive and bring you a greater level of integrity in your relationships. And now, let us sing. Our closing hymn, Now Let Us Sing, number 368 in the Gray Hymn Book, if you have it, and the words will be on the screen.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the faith within.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the faith within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the hope within.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the hope within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the love within.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the love within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the joy within.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the joy within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power
Our congregation is supported solely by the contributions of its members and friends. In tough times, we need our faith community more than ever. Let's make sure to maintain it even in this difficult time. The morning offering will be taken by either you mailing a check to the church or going to the uucnh.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate, and making a contribution equivalent to what you would be putting in the plate or more. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith.
Reminded that our actions are inscribed in the book of life, let us go forth from the quiet of this hour, encouraged to face our need for forgiveness and our need to forgive, remembering to treat each other and ourselves with kindness, with gentleness, as we together make it through this difficult time and work for better times to come. Go in peace. May it be so.